Kobe Bryant recently crashed in a helicopter just like this, a Sikorsky S-76. We're going to talk about this helicopter so you can learn the helicopter that he was on. And we're going to continue to dig into the story and try to find out exactly what happened and what caused the crash. But in this particular video, we're going to talk about the helicopter itself. So again, it was a Sikorsky S-76. They started producing them in 1977, and to date they've built 1,090 models. It cost $13 million, and of course is manufactured by Sikorsky Aircraft. There are about 10 different models of this aircraft: the S-76A, the A Utility, the A+, the A++, the A Mark II. There's a S-76B, S-76C, S-76C+, and C++, and an S-76D. There's also military variants, the AUH-76. Here's a photo of the AUH-76 military helicopter, which was developed from the S-76 Mark II. The Sikorsky S-76 actually has the accident rate is much lower than most helicopters. In fact, I could only find reports of 4 major accidents. There was a 2002 Bristol helicopter crash, and that was the S-76A, Copterline Flight 106, and Swan Aviation Sikorsky S-76 crash. So in 2002, you had the Bristol helicopter Sikorsky S-76A crash. G-BJVX, a Norwich-based commercial Sikorsky S-76A helicopter operated by Bristol Helicopters, crashed in the evening of July 16, 2002 in the southern North Sea while it was making a 10-minute flight between gas production platform Clipper and drilling rig Global Santa Fe Monarch, after which it was to return to Norwich Airport. So this particular helicopter was 22 years old and was flying at an altitude of 320 feet when workers on a Global Santa Fe Monarch heard a loud bang. No witnesses were actually watching the aircraft at the time, but some saw it dive steeply into the sea. A witness also reported seeing the helicopter's rotors head with rotor blades attached falling into the sea after the body of the helicopter had impacted. The accident caused the death of the body of the 11th man. So one parallel we see with this particular accident in 2002, and again, I remind you that this helicopter has, I would say, impeccable safety record compared to other helicopters. However, I am noticing a parallel here that we have 100% casualties in 2002. So as far as the reason for the crash, let's talk a little bit about the investigation. So they looked at the flight data recorder, and according to what they saw or heard on the recorder, or the information they were able to extract from the recorder rather, the crew seemed to be unaware of any issues or any anomalies with the aircraft. So about 4.5 minutes into the flight, they made a comment about an increase in vibration. They carried out a rotor track and balance procedure. And again, it did not seem that the crew were alarmed by the vibration or they did a analysis of the sounds that they could hear from the engine on this record, amplitude of the frequencies associated with the main rotor vibration towards the end of the recording, so that they did hear an audible change in the pitch. And then unfortunately the recording actually ended abruptly with what was described as 3 unusual, probably structure-borne sounds. So the final analysis was that they feel that the electrical energy that had hit the aircraft in 1999 exploited an anomaly that was built into the blade at the manufacturer and damaged the spar. Air Accident Investigations Branch report stated that the manufacturer should have noticed the error. So one of the things, some of you guys know that I'm former Air Force, so I will tell you, because of the risks at hand, the safety standards of aircraft, especially things like helicopters. And I don't have a helicopter background, but just knowing aviation, the idea of an aircraft being struck in such a violent manner, I would expect, you know, the kind of very exhaustive done after that. I mean, just normal operation that are fine. They're perfectly fine. You replace them before they get to the point where they're questionable. And that's just normal operation. So I can't imagine what procedures should have been or would have been taken after such an incident. But somehow the end result was still a crash happening. I guess at this point would be quite a while. Well, a few years anyway. So 1999 this happened, and then the crash was 2002. So interesting. So this was a 9-passenger flight, crew of 2, which is normal for this aircraft, and 11 fatalities. I'd like to go over the other 2 crashes, the Copper Line Flight 103. I'm running out of time here, I need to run into the office. There's also the Swan Aviation crash, which I'll be talking about as well, a comparative analysis. Now, we don't have much details about the crash that just happened, so a little bit difficult to do that, but what happened in previous crashes, and then when the data comes out about this crash, any parallels, anything in common. But I will cover those crashes in a future video. Definitely subscribe, click on the like button, smash that bell so you get notified of future videos. But for now, I just want to wrap up with a couple of details about the aircraft. So the S-76 aircraft is something that Kobe Bryant used a lot. And again, as I mentioned several times, the safety record on this aircraft is pretty good. So yesterday I reported that it was 5 people. That's what was originally put out, but now we know that there were actually, unfortunately, 8 other people, including Kobe Bryant's daughter. So this S-76 is known, used for travel, you know, corporate transport, VIP, that kind of thing. And unfortunately, you guys know one thing, I love Los Angeles, but one thing that I really frustrates me about Los Angeles, even on a motorcycle, you know, I love that, you know, in Los Angeles we're allowed to split lanes, which is basically we can go in between the cars legally, in a safe manner. Of course, you can't just do whatever you want, can't be doing wheelies down the highway, but even on a motorcycle that is allowed to go between lanes, the traffic is so brutal, can be so brutal. One of the last times I rode, I actually had to pull over to the side because I was just so fatigued. Now, Los Angeles traffic in that helicopter specifically to avoid. So normally Kobe would take an aircraft like this to travel between his Orange County home. So again, as we mentioned before, the Sikorsky S-76 was a $13 million twin engine, described by the company as something that produced safe, reliable flight in all weather situations. And again, there are military variants of this helicopter as well. The NTSB has sent 18 individuals to the crash site outside of Calabasas, California to investigate the accident. So the helicopter in the crash was built in 1991, and it was owned by the state of Illinois from 2007 to 2000. In 2015, it was sold for $550, considerably lower than the. So the helicopter was sold to a Jim Bagg, who was an executive at Island Express Holding Corp., the helicopter operator that had licensed the helicopter that crashed. So at the time of this sale of the helicopter, the engines had logged 3,952. So I believe this is the actual aircraft here. Serial number S-72EX, the cockpit. So some of the aircraft I've been showing you guys have been more modern. There's a seating, so you see this large tail number N-72EX. I'm assuming this is how it looks now. Yep, this is Carlisle's Picks Aviation series. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, definitely click on the like button, subscribe, get notified of future videos. We'll be covering more about the crash and what happened with dig into the aircraft, aviation like I do. I mentioned before, I am an Air Force veteran, and I just love aviation. I was in the Surveillance Patrol. I've just loved aircraft and flying for pretty much all my life, starting with my love of Superman, but that's a story for another day. Alright guys, thanks for watching.
As well as from the owner's perspective, they hang on back there.
Sure. Well, safety is the primary benefit of the 7X over and above our competitors in the form of the digital primary flight control system.
This is the Gulfstream G550, which is a large cabin, ultra long range jet from Gulfstream.